Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fishing Planet. Today, I want to talk about how to fight a fish. See it come up in chat in game and on message boards, and it seems like that there are quite a few people that aren't aware of the mechanics that are present within the game on how to effectively fight a fish. The question comes up a lot on do fish get tired? There's a lot of people who don't believe fish get tired. Well, in the fact that they actually do. The developers have done a really good job, I think, in simulating what it's like to actually catch a fish. And that's really apparent whenever you get into the bigger fish and you're kind of forced to have a long, um, attractive fight with a fish. Now, I like to break it down into three different stages as far as fighting a fish. The first stage is whenever you initially hook a fish, they're fresh, they've got a fresh shot of adrenaline, and they're able to produce most amount of strength um, right on those opening moments of a fight. Uh, that is when they're going to be putting the most stress on your gear. Most likely, they're going to be exceeding the drag capabilities of your reel, and they're going to be pulling line off of your. Um, that is the time for the angler to be patient and allow the gear to do its job. The second part, second phase of the fight, when the fish is tired enough that they're basically right at the maximum capability of your fishing setup. You're able to keep pressure on the fish due to the bend of the rod, and they're just barely able to find enough strength to exceed the drag capabilities of your reel and pull line off of your reel. That's when things really start getting interesting, and that's whenever you're going to be able to start making headway against a fish. The last stage of it is whenever the fish has basically reached exhaustion and no longer able to um, produce enough strength to overcome the capabilities of your setup. And that's the point where you're basically just dragging them out of the water. As you start the game, you're pretty much always in that third stage. Your gear and everything is going to be far too much for something like a minnow or a blunt nose, or even a lot of those smaller crappies and everything, to be able to put enough strength on that the dynamics of what your gear is doing kicks in. So what I've done is I've come here to the Neherrin River and I'm actually going to go after flathead catfish. The reason why I'm going after them is because they're a big fish, so it's going to require a bit of a fight, but that fight is not really spastic sporadic. They're not fast swimmers. Um, so I'm actually going to be able to talk through what's going on as I'm fighting this fish. Now you're going to see that unlike a lot of YouTube videos, I'm not going to be yanking back on the rod a whole bunch. I'm not going to be doing a whole bunch of erratic movements. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm positioning myself, keep constant pressure on the fish, and I'm going to let the gear take care of tiring that fish down. So we're here at the Neherrin River. I'm going to go in here to Woody Encampment, and if you want to know where to fish for catfish here, right here is where you want to be. Just to the left of this tree, about 85 feet out or so, and I'm using a 4/0 hook with medium cut bait, and my depth is at 95. I've already got my drag and everything set, so once you set your drag on your gear, you should not ever have to touch your drag again. You got it properly set up, then you're gonna get up there where there's a lot of tension on it, but you're not gonna get into the break, into the red on your meters, and you're either gonna be releasing line to the fish, that's unfortunate, or you're gonna be pulling them in. Cast back out here. Now, as I'm fighting this fish, the number that we're going to be focused on is this number right here. That's the amount of line that I have out. It's not the distance to the bobber or the distance to the fish, it's how much line I have out. And that is what you're fighting over. There we go. I've got my hook is set. I've got a good hook in, and now what I'm doing is I'm pulling rod over where I've got all of the tension on the fish, keeping the fish basically perpendicular to the line of my rod. Rod's going this way, the fish is over this way. That's providing that bend. As you can see, he's pulling line off, but it's really not at that great of a rate. Now, if I start reeling, I'm going to start losing line to him faster. If you've ever taken a physics course and you know about static friction and things of that nature. Now, he's still pulling line, but he's pulling basically inches. Looking at the first part of it, I can test a little bit and see if I gain anything back from him. But really what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the tension on the rod or the reel dip. That's whenever I'm going to want to start pulling line back from him. There we go. Now I'm getting pretty good line back from him here. He might have turned back toward me. Got to pull in as much line as I can from him. Still keeping that tension on the line and on the rod. Now I'm back into pulling a little bit more. Whenever that number really starts ticking off and I'm losing line to him, then I want to stop reeling. Try to get it back to static friction. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm just holding him. I'm at that second stage. Kind of a tie. Pull some in, but I'm watching that number. Which way is it going? Still pulling just a little bit stronger. Getting a little bit back here. So this is the back and forth. Back and forth. As you can see, I'm not jerking. Whenever you do get to the point kind of where I'm at, it's kind of sitting at 55. So if I give it a little tug, then what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling that fish. And as my rod returns to its natural position, I'm reclaiming that space. So I'm actually, that was a pretty quick fight. Yeah, he's only 17 pounds. He's kind of a little guy. But you kind of got the idea, I think, on stages that I went through. Initial hook, just let him take line. Keep that pressure on. You want these meters be pegged out. And if you haven't done so already, I suggest you go into your settings menu and turn on your Pro Angler. See each individual component of your setup and see how each one is performing. If you have a proper setup, your line should be taking the most stress. Your rod and your reel should be lower. And that way, your line is the first thing to break. And if you run out of total line, then your line should max out, your reel will max out, but it should be the line that breaks before you lose everything on your reel. And that is the basics of how to wear down and land some of these larger fish that you're going to start getting into. Requires a little bit of patience, a little bit of understanding of the forces involved, and letting the gear do the work. I am interested to see how well that translates into stuff like alligator gar and the fish that are known for putting up a huge fight and taking a long time to pull in. But as it stands right now, this technique has served me very well, and I'm not getting anywhere near the length of fights, even with bowfin and fish like that a lot of people are reporting. Hopefully that increases your enjoyment of the game. And if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Till then, Have fun and good luck.